Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hey, Mary, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me. This is fantastic, especially since all of our conventions have kind of been canceled. I really appreciate this.
Exactly. And I tell you, we've had some really exciting. It's been an exciting 2 days hearing everything that's that people are up to and these sort of creative ways they have of getting the word out. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to let everybody know we've got Mark from Bloodhound Books here. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comments. Tag them questions so I see them so I don't miss them, and we'll pop them up on the screen for Mark to answer. And okay, I'm going to leave it with you.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in too. Fantastic. Thank you guys. Before I bring on a very special guest who's going to join me, which happens to be Kristopher Triana, we're going to talk about his new book coming out in October. Might as well start with the big purpose of the whole company, our mission statement for Bloodbound Books, because every time you buy one of our books or any of our merchandise, you're supporting this mission. And our mission is spreading hope through dark fiction. And there are 3 ways that we go about doing that. And I just want to set them out really quick here because they also impact you guys. You can get free books by helping us out. So the 3 things that we do are, the first is Books for Blood. Now, these aren't the most creative titles for our programs, but the Books for Blood program is every time you donate blood, all you have to do is snap a selfie of yourself, basically at the blood donation center. Everyone loves taking selfies. So if you snap a picture of yourself or have somebody else do it while you're donating blood, you can go right to our website and you can upload that photo and we will send you a free ebook. We usually get to everybody within about 48 hours. You get to pick the ebook as long as it's something that we still have the rights to. There's a couple books that maybe we only did the paperback to. But other than that, you can upload your picture and we will send you a free ebook just for donating blood because it's a very important cause for us. So please think about doing it and you get a free book. The second way that we try to spread hope through dark fiction is by donating to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And we have a book called The City, and it was a very, very popular book. And I know loads of Bloodbound Books readers have checked it out already and left reviews. If you haven't, please pick it up because every time you buy this book, we donate all the proceeds, all the profits to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And the last way that we spread hope through dark fiction is through our Teens Need to Read program. Again, like I said, they are not the most creative titles, but the Teens Need to Read program is an opportunity for us to give books to schools. So I've been a teacher for the last, I want to say 13 or 14 years, and I've taught in some pretty rough places. And the biggest thing that I've run into is that a lot of young people, and I'm not saying across the board, but at certain schools, they have always hated to read. They're just not excited about it. They're not interested in it. And our schools have some very old copies of classic books. And there's nothing wrong with the classics, but I found that I need something to kind of really excite the students. And so we have a program where every year we select 4 teachers. The teacher picks the book. They tell us the lesson plans they want to have, what they're going to do with this book. And then me and my business partner, Joe Spagnola, have the very hard task of sitting down and picking one of those teachers to get free books for their classrooms. And it can be any book. So for example, this one happens to be a Bloodbound book. So we did this for an art teacher. So it doesn't even have to be fiction because we do coloring books too. This is a coloring book that an art teacher went ahead and asked for from us. And so, just kind of, this is my best attempt at coloring, but it's kind of creepy cute. So this was really good for middle school and elementary art classes. So we donated those to her. I've had teachers who have submitted applications for Goosebump books. Some people asked for Twilight Zone. Another teacher asked for The Long Walk by Stephen King, which is extremely violent. So if you're going to apply to our Teens Need to Read program, please check in with your administrators first and make sure that they're totally okay with you getting these books from us. But again, the books don't have to be our books. You just have to apply. Applications open on September 1st for this next round, and any teacher can apply. There's no restrictions or requirements. All that we ask is that you pick something. We try to go for dark fiction, so pick something. It can be a crime book, science fiction, dark fantasy, whatever you would like. You apply right on our website, same place where you upload your donation pictures, and just the teachers are going to tell us what book they want. what they're going to do, their engaging lesson plans, and then we are going to check it out. And we're going to do our best to pick teachers who I think have something really engaging and something really great that they're going to do with the book. And then we also try to weigh it against what schools are the most needy for them. So in my district, the school I was at was always the one that never had supplies, never had enough books. So it's an easy choice. Usually we can look at the district, we can see kind of the breakdown, and then we make the hard choice of who we should give them to. And we pick 4 teachers throughout the year. Again, submissions open up on September 1st. So please tell your friends that are teachers to apply. And if you want to support any of these causes on our website, let's say you don't even want to buy a book or donate blood, you can just donate any amount of funds and you can tell us what to do with the funds. If you want us to use them to send books to classrooms, we would love to do that. So please go to bloodboundbooks.com. You can even go to bloodgutsandstory.com and we'll always redirect to our site. We'd really appreciate your help in helping us spread hope through dark fiction. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Let's see, the second thing, the Splatter Club. For those of you who are watching who are into extreme horror and bizarro and erotica and very dark, crazy stuff, K-Trap Jones came up with this idea about, I want to say it was 2.5 years ago now, and he asked me if I would help him out with the Splatter Club. And it started as a Facebook group. And really what it's going to be is, or what it is, and what we hope that it even grows more into, is just an online writing community and a resource for not just writers, but also readers. So far for the last 2 years, barring a brief break when we got super, super busy, we do a book of the month read. So every month we pick a new bizarro or extreme horror title. And really we use our connections from not just Bloodbound Books authors, but let's see, 2 months ago, we had Death's Head Press. So Jerry from Death's Head Press got together with Chandler Morrison, and they went ahead and did a book of the month read for Dead Inside, which is a crazy book, but it was a lot of fun. And the authors come in, and the presses interact with fans. And for 2 weeks, everybody reads the book. You talk about it, discuss it. The author's doing live readings, they do giveaways. And it was a way to kind of bridge that gap between authors and readers and kind of make it a really interactive book club. So if you are an author out there who writes that kind of stuff, or you're one of the presses listening, please contact either me or K-Trap Jones at the Splatter Club, and let's try to work out getting you a month. And so every month we pick a new book. This month we are doing Cherub by by David C. Hayes. And it's been great so far. We're in the final stretch of that one. And last month we did Womb by Duncan Rouston, and that was a lot of fun too. So the Splatter Club is just this opportunity for you to mingle with other authors. If you're an author and you want to beta read, ask people to beta read your story. We're really hoping it just becomes a place where we can, kind of build book lists, discuss books, but more geared towards extreme horror and stuff like that. Speaking of which, this is going to lead us into some new releases. If I have it. To help promote the club and to help build, we want to raise some money because we want to get a website. We really want to build this thing up. We just released Welcome to the Splatter Club. And so this is an anthology. We got 13 stories in this one. And it's a mix between brand new authors like Nikki Noor, who I have another book to discuss with her coming up soon. And then seasoned pros like John McNee and Chandler Morrison, who I talked about before. And so this is our very first anthology. It's just the ebook's out now. The paperback's coming out on September 1st. But we only publish people who are in the Splatter Club. And that's part of what makes it a great resource for writers. So right now, we're open to submissions. It's not just for the next Splatter Club anthology, because we hope to do these about every year. But we also are going to be posting short stories on the website. And we're even going to open up to novellas too. So this is an opportunity for you to submit a story, and you get it. The really cool thing about this is I think it would get old if K-Trap Jones edited every single one. I think it would get old if I edited every single one. I already have a press where I do that at. One of the really cool things about the Splatter Club is that the community, they're picking the stories. So it's not just us as the editors. We'll do the editing aspect of it and put everything together, but it's the people in the club who are picking the stories. So as long as you are a member of the Facebook group, the Splatter Club, you can pick stories. Right now we have 3 readers. They're going through the piles of submissions, and they stay on for about 3 months at a time. So every quarter, they're allowed to pick 2 stories. I wish we could let them pick everything, but we could not publish all of that. So they're limited to 2 choices for a reading submission period. So if anyone's ever complained like, oh, there's gatekeepers in the horror community, or certain people don't have a voice or a say, get out there, join the club, and then submit to be one of our readers. And we rotate people out every 3 months, and we usually have about 3 to 4 readers in every quarter. So you get to be the one to pick it. So if you really want to have a voice in what's getting published all over, please come join the Splatter Club on Facebook. Let's see. Any questions? I don't have my comment section up, so if anyone has one, I'm sure Mary will just put it up on the screen. I'm going to jump over to some of our new releases, and then we'll get Kristopher Triana out. Let's see. Oh, first thing, we don't just do books. I think I showed you our cemetery picnic coloring book. So this is one thing that we do, non-fiction related. We also have some really cool greeting cards, and everybody you know has a birthday. So also on our website, let's see if I can hold these up. This is one of my favorites. So we have birthday cards. There we go. So they're usually humorous. If you know the movie or the book, you totally get it. So happy birthday, and you're going to need a bigger cake. If you are a Clive Barker fan, we have some Hellraiser stuff. And again, if you know it, hope this year has such sights to show you. We have things for It, Saw, Gremlins. So those are some things we have out that are not book related. But the next book that we have coming out, let's see, pop over to this real quick. This is from Nikki Noir, and it's going to be called Black Planet, and it's actually books 1 through 4. Okay. Nikki had this really awesome idea, and she's brand new to this kind of extreme horror stuff. And I've been talking with her, and she is in the Splatter Club. She's in the anthologies, great story in there. And she had this awesome idea of doing a little short novellas, because I told her people love the novellas. You should really just do really short kind of extreme things and release them, in the series. She also had this really cool idea of ending everything on a cliffhanger. And it reminded me of, I wasn't around for them, but the old shows maybe in the 50s where there's a woman tied on the train tracks and the train is shooting closer and closer to it and says, tune in next week to find out if she gets away. Well, Nikki basically did that with her stories. She ended one with a dude basically tied up in a burning building. The problem was the next book didn't really come out next week. It didn't come out next month. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? She had these insane cliffhangers and they weren't being finished. So I said, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and just put them all together, books 1 through 4. So we're working with her, and we're going to put this out. We're working on it right now. The pandemic thing has kind of slowed things down a bit, but we're hoping it's set for, Thanksgiving, but I think we're going to be able to bring it up a little bit. And I have the description on my phone, so I'd like to read this to you guys. Something's buried under the Arizona soil, something that doesn't belong there. More than 2,000 years old and engraved in a dead language, the ancient stone technology has been unearthed by a deep state agency. As they experiment on the bizarre structure, the veil between our world and another is pierced, and a powerful substance begins to seep into the woods. Crime, shared nightmares, and lustful possessions grip the nearby town of Shale as the metaphysical substance grows stronger. Sex, murder, and glue abound in this occult thriller from extreme horror author Nikki Noir. Get seduced now, or more likely in November. So that's one book that we have coming up. The other one that is approaching, but I don't have an arc for it just yet, is Chew on This. And that's an anthology of food horror. And I know there was a pizza anthology that everyone's asking me about. It's not just pizza. And this one's not edited by me. I'm helping out with it a little bit because I enjoy that, and I'm publishing it through Bloodbound Books. But Robert Essig jumped in for us, and Robert's been working with us for a long time. He put out a novella with us, at least back in 2012. And he's been in our DOA anthology series at least once or twice. So it's been great to work with Robert again. So that's coming out. Also, we're planning for it around November. That's the hope. So chew on this anthology. And then, without further ado, for these next 3 books, I really want to bring out our guest, Kristopher Triana. So, Mary, if you're able to, could you bring that guy out? I haven't seen him in a while.
Yo!
Whoa, dude, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you? Hello to everybody watching.
Yeah, I'm really good, man. I remember, I think it was like, I remember the date because we had a phone call. It was like March 9th, and I was on spring break, and we were talking about this new book that you have called They All Died Screaming.
Yes.
And we started talking about it a bit, and we've had all these plans, and then everything was just killed and canceled.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're planning to release the there you go.
I mean, I'm gonna hold it. This is not the real cover, okay? Did you ever see the movie Delicatessen?
Yeah.
Okay. I just had this flash in my head, and I know there's pigs involved, and I said, I need something for an arc. So this is the arc that went out, but we have a new cover coming for everybody, but this is the book. Could you just tell us a little bit about it and how you kind of came up with this inspiration and what They All Die Screaming is?
Yeah, sure. Well, the interesting thing about it is the book is sort of about a plague, but it's not the type of plague that we're dealing with in the real life where people get sick and bronchial issues and die. It's a plague that makes people snap. It's almost like a rabid thing where they just start screaming and they cannot stop. So they just slowly go more and more insane because they can't sleep, they can't eat, they're just constantly screaming. And so that's the plague. And it's not known if it's passed, like from person to person or how you get it or anything like that. So the funny thing is I finished the first draft of this in January of 2020. And as everyone knows, it was, sometime in March, mid-March, I think, when COVID first hit. So here I was, and I had this plague book in a way, and I'm like, shit, and so I reached out to you because we were talking about, doing this book together, and I was like, are people going to be sick of plague stuff by the time it comes out? And we're like, well, it's not really like that kind of plague. It's, more zombie-ish in a way, even though they're not zombies. It's kind of its own thing. And they're like, well, should we wait a little while or should we get it out right away? Because now, every writer is going to be inspired by the plague. So, but yeah, it's coming out in October.
Yeah. Halloween, if everything goes as planned, that is our set date. Actually, you should put down in the comments real quick, what do you guys think about plague books? Do you even like them during it? But again, I was surprised because when you were talking to me on the phone, I was like, oh man, I don't know, because this is going to be touchy. Of course, it was March and everything felt okay. It was like March 9th. And then literally like 2 weeks later, you and me were like, oh, things went to shit, man. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Fast. And so I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know if it would bother people, but I think what you're saying is correct. There's so much more to this than a plague story. It's really character driven. Yeah. One thing that I love, the line that I highlighted that I wanted to put on everything was, in a world full of monsters, even heroes have fangs. It felt really powerful to me. And I think the book does a great job of, would you say, blurring the line between heroes and villains?
Oh, very much so. And that was the impetus for it, is when I came up with the initial idea, it was, you get these movies about like survival where people band together and everything like that, or they're by themselves, like in I Am Legend or something. But I was like, well, what if the last people on Earth, or the main characters, what if they're all a bunch of scumbags? What if they're just just rotten, awful people? And I was kind of like, okay, what if like Charles Bukowski wrote a survival horror novel, and what if I filled it with people like from Selby's Last Exit to Brooklyn type of characters that are just disheveled and all kinds of messed up. So yeah, that's where the story first came from. But there's, as you know, there's kind of two stories going on in this, and one is the story of the scream, as they call it, happening, and then there's another story about a young boy who is kidnapped by a pig farmer and brought to his farm, and he just makes him work on the farm. But there's all sorts of horrible things that happen there because the guy kidnaps young women, and so it's kind of like those two stories, and then like how they converge.
Yeah. Yeah, I did love it. And again, I see a couple comments coming on there. Yeah, some people, not so much with plague books, but otherwise, when they're crossed with other genres, they love them. I agree. I've never loved like just this flat out end of the world or zombie apocalypse. It's just not always been my thing. And this one I absolutely loved. Let's see, was there Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Was there anything you changed a whole lot because we sent back some edits back and forth. We talked a little bit about it, and of course, all this is going on. Was there anything that you felt like you had to change, or you couldn't touch anymore, or you wanted to adapt?
A little bit, because there are some characters in the story that kind of politicize this plague, but not to the extent that we're actually seeing in reality, which is even more absurd than what I wrote in the book, which is dumbfounding but true. But the only little things that I edited, because I didn't have to change much, because again, the plague isn't like the plague that we have in reality. But the things that I did change was just the government's response to it, because I was seeing things happening in real life, and like how like the timing and what was going on. But in my book, of course, the plague spreads 100 times more rapidly than it does than COVID has. So I kind of had to adjust a little bit based on what I had seen in the real world, the response by the government and foreign governments. So.
Yeah, yours goes very, very fast. I remember that, and I love this one. Was there anything before I jump onto some of the other stuff that maybe you wanted to say about They All Die Screaming?
It's got some really sick, twisted stuff in it. It's not super extreme like some of my other books, like Full Brutal and Body Art, which we'll mention. But it's got some really twisted, depraved stuff. It's more depraved on a humanity level. As again, I said, like, these characters, how just demented and deranged they are, and so it's more disturbing on that level, I would say.
Yeah, when I was giving it out to reviewers, I was like, this is super bleak. That was the way I described it. Don't think of it as an extreme. Like, this is dark. As you said, Bukowski, all that stuff. Want to shout out to Dave Thomas. Alex Skolnick once slept at his house. We'll have to hear that story sometime. You must have seen the Testament shirt. Let's see what else you got here. Jason Parent met you at an event in CT. Great guy. I agree. He is a very nice guy. I like Chris. Okay. Then let's see if I check out any more comments down here and see if I don't miss anything. Okay, good. So there is something really cool to announce, and I started to tease it, and then I pulled back because I wanted to wait till I had the actual book, and you and I talked a little bit more, but there is a second edition of Body Art coming.
Da-da-da.
A director's cut, and for those of you who know the book, this one is directed by Rutger Malone and starring Kennedy Hart. It's totally awesome. And this is going to be called the director's cut, but there's something very special about this one. What's different about this book than the first edition?
Yes, there's something very special added to it. There's an all-new epilogue added to it, which you talked about cliffhangers with Nicky Noir. It's kind of a cliffhanger of an epilogue. So there's that in there, and also we're going to include the first short story that you and I published together in DOA 2 way back in 1984. A long time ago, though.
It feels like so long ago. I can barely remember. Wow, it'd be 2012.
Yeah. So it's called The Devouring, and it's a really sick, twisted story that I continue to get comments on. And I know when we were at a convention we were doing in Phoenix, and we had people coming up going, "Oh man, that book and that first story," and I was like, "Yeah, that's my fault. That's me. I did that." And they're like, "Oh man, it's so twisted." So we thought it would be a nice treat to put it in the director's cut of Body Art, because it kind of shows where we first started together with that short story, and then Body Art was the first novel that mine that you guys published too. So it's a director's cut, special edition package. But you also wanted to talk about an actual package that we have.
This is going to be the triple X package, because it's going to come.
Triple X package. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to call it get Chris's package. I was bouncing around a lot of ideas. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I better ask him first before I start throwing his package around. But real quick, before I show all of it together, I did The Devouring, and I'm so thankful you came out to Phoenix that time. And I can't wait till we do it together again. But yes, fans always remember DOA 2. That is the book. And it was a really magical time. The minute Joe and I read that story, I remember, because we read stories on the couch. We used to read them on my couch submissions, and we just stopped and that's going in. And not only is it going in, that's the first story in the anthology. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was everything. So we have a triple package of all of these. So if you go to the website, I have it up right now. Again, this isn't the official cover, but you're going to get a paperback of They All Died Screaming. You're going to get the special director's cut edition of Body Art with the epilogue and the short story if you haven't already read it. And then you are going to get the cool coloring book, not the one that we sent to the schools, mind you, but Body Art, the coloring book. And this was something that I think we came up with at Comic-Con that time, right?
Yes. And we were just like, oh my God, that's such a demented idea. Because for those who haven't read it, Body Art is about a porn crew making the most disturbing, sick porno ever made. And it includes mutilation and all sorts of stuff. So as you can imagine, the comic book is filled with really I don't know if you can really show this on the.
Oh wait, I don't know. Wait, yeah, I gotta look at I might be able to show this.
Yeah, it's really intense and really messed up. I mean, it is an X-rated
it totally is.
coloring book. Yeah.
And really, you guys got to check this out because we are going to count on all you guys who are viewing right now to get the word out because I can't advertise this thing anywhere. I can't buy any Amazon advertising. I can't talk about it anywhere.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we did a new cover for the novel too, because that original cover was also too racy too hot for TV.
Yeah. So me and Chris had these awesome ideas. I feel like we were literally the dudes who are like, we're drinking beer, watching video nasty. You're like, man, this is a great idea. Put that on the cover. Like, yes, do this. Yeah. And we don't really think these things through. And then we're like, We've got an awesome product. We can't show anybody. We can't advertise it. Nobody knows. So please help us spread the word. Yeah, so you can pick all three of these up. We have it going on for now. If you like Kindle, we actually are running a pre-order for They All Die Screaming. It's 50% off. I think after this weekend, though, we're going to put it up to full price, so they should jump on and get that now. And then let's see. You do so much more, and I didn't tell you about this, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about it, than just extreme horror. And it's some of those things where you write other stuff. We actually have a book from called Shepherd of the Black Sheep. Could you maybe talk about that for a moment and some of the other things you do besides extreme horror?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I do conventional horror, and I also do crime fiction and even small town drama, which is what Shepherd of the Black Sheep is. That's more just about there's a murder of a child in a small town, and it just turns the town upside down. And the main character is older man. He's a rancher, and he's the grandfather of a young girl, and she was the only witness to the murder. So again, this isn't extreme horror. You're not getting like this graphic like killing of a child or anything. You're just getting the story, and it's kind of like a thriller and a small town drama. But it's definitely a dark book, but it's a non-horror book of mine that I would hope people would enjoy just as well. As it certainly the response to it has certainly been very good. But then I also have a book called The Ruin Season, which is also along those same lines. Different story, but along those same lines. So yeah, I do write other things. Even my horror stuff, it's not all as extreme as Full Brutal and Body Art. I've gone to see The Riverman, for example. It's a new one that I had out through Cemetery Dance, which is actually being put out in paperback for the first time by Grindhouse Press in the fall. So. And that one isn't extreme horror, but it's, again, like They All Died Screaming. It's just really dark and disturbing.
Oh, we do have a question here from Travis. Oh, good to see you, Travis. Kristopher, would it ever be an option for some form of continuation of Full Brutal, another novel or a series of stories? We need more Kim White. I
don't know about that. I don't think so, because I think that Full Brutal is perfect the way it is. It's got from start to finish. I think to expand upon it would lessen it in a way. Like some stuff, I think is just best left alone. Like in my heart, I would love there to be a second Big Lebowski movie, but it's so perfect the way it is. Like I wouldn't want that at the same time. So as much as I appreciate the love that you have for Kim White, Travis, I appreciate it. Lots of people love that book. It was the one that won the Splatter Punk Award. It's my most popular book. I don't really think it's needed. I don't think continuing it, and particularly, the book has such a finalistic ending that I think it wouldn't really work to continue. But Body Art would.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Can I, before we get to the next, oh wait, no, let's go with this one. Apparently, where's your Mandy shirt?
Which one? I have like 3 of them. I love that movie. But no, I'm wearing my, this is Brain Damage. It's Elmer.
Oh, before there was Lord of the Rings.
Huh?
Before there was Lord of the Rings, he was
Right.
doing.
No, you're thinking Dead Alive, Brain Dead.
Oh, being Dead Alive, right.
Yeah. This is Frank Henenlotter, who gave us Frankenhooker and so many other wonderful movies. So
he's got good stuff too.
Yes.
Right. Let's see. No, we got all those. Okay, I do have a question for you because this is something I think I remembered about you when we talked one time at a convention. You like science stuff too, right?
Yes.
You're big into science. I remember talking to you a bit about Prince of Nightmares. We've got thoughts on quantum physics and all that great stuff. Do you ever have an idea for a science and horror kind of thing? I mean, I know you were in our anthology Crash Code. Maybe you talk about that for a bit.
Yeah. Crash Code was like science fiction horror. So yeah, I have a short story in that that's based off of deep fakes. For those of you who know that technology, it's super creepy. And so I did a story based on that. And I have some other stuff that's been, like, I have this story called Skyscraper. It's in an anthology I have out called Blood Relations through Grindhouse Press. And that story deals heavily with physics and the possibility of alternate dimensions. So I have written some stuff that's science fiction, but it's more based in hard science. It's not, just like, aliens or something like that. It's more based on the properties of physics because it's like a nerd thing, that I'm into.
That's good. No, I love that stuff. It's kind of like when you read like Michael Crichton books and you knew that there was an element like this could kind of happen. This is real. He had tons of research behind it. Mm-hmm. And so seeing more hard science into the horror field, or dark fantasy would just be fantastic. I would love to see that from you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I loved the old analog, anthologies and stuff, which were all based in hard science, yeah, there's definitely a love for that in fiction wise. And Prince of Darkness, which we had talked about, that movie was a big inspiration for me, like really like of how you can fuse those things. You can take science and mix it with horror without it being a like conventional sci-fi horror movie, So.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Well, the deep fake, I really love that story because that stuff is starting to scare me. I have this idea when you watch TV. Did you ever see the movie Wag the Dog? The old one with Robert De Niro.
Yeah. A long time
ago. Yeah, it's not horror at all, but there's this idea that we only know what we are seeing. And they basically fooled everybody that this war is going on. And I watch some of the stuff nowadays in these deep fakes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't even know. That's a true horror story. Yeah. I wouldn't know it's real anymore. I'm getting confused.
It's crazy how convincing those things are. And they're just going to keep getting better. CGI ages poorly. Like if you watch CGI movies, from 2 years ago, you can tell it's fake, but at the time you really couldn't. And so these things will just continue to advance to keep up with that, I think. And in my story, the deep fake, it's actually utilized in a way that's put on actual people. So you can actually wear the face of whoever you want in person, not just on camera. I don't know if it's necessarily going in that direction in real life, but that's how the story works out.
Yeah. So if you're curious about checking out Deep Fake or The Deepest Fake, it's in Crash Code Anthology. So it's all science fiction horror. And of course, with guys like Triana in there and John McNee, it's going to be extreme, but there are some science fiction based ones. It looks like we have another question. So from a writer, since we have, we'll do Travis's. Yes, he did just tease Body Art sequel.
I teased it. I said it's possible.
That's
not 100% guaranteed. It's not written yet, but I do have ideas floating around, so it is possible. Again, there's a new epilogue in the director's cut edition, so check it out and you'll see where it could potentially go.
You write like a madman. So after we talk about this next question, I'll have to ask about your writing routine. But since we both publisher and writer, I'm curious to know what tactics you're using to promote your works during the dark age of COVID. I'll let you field first.
Kind of the same thing that I've always used. I mean, and even more so now, the internet, like doing these kind of online conventions in a way. I've done this one. I did, Scares That Care. And I was going to do KillerCon, but I lost power for a week due to storms. But yeah, promoting it online, using social media, interacting with fans as much as possible, and just like doing stuff like Mark was talking about like trying to do promotions, giving away ebooks to people that donate to a good cause, things like that. And I also have a podcast with another writer, John Wayne Comunali, and it's called Vital Social Issues and Stuff with Chris and John Wayne. And it's a podcast that's just about fun stuff. Like, we never talk about politics or anything serious that's going on in the world, even if it's in our own, horror community. We don't get into it. We just talk about silly crap like, is Stallone better than Schwarzenegger? And are vampires better than werewolves? And Batman, like it's a fun podcast. But we use that also to promote not only our own books, but also the books of other cult writers and underground authors that we know. And try to, and we have something called Book of the Week, where we promote one of those books, usually a book that just came out, but sometimes a book that we just discovered, or that one of us just read. But we always keep it to, the writers who really need that promotion. It's not like, hey, Stephen King's new book, everybody, like he doesn't need our help. So
yeah. I would agree. At this time when we're so distanced, I think making you feel and seem like a person again is super important. I love the idea that he's doing podcasting. I had tried at the beginning of quarantine. I had my phone and I was like, I'm going to read stories to everyone. So I would prop it up. I got one of those like stands, and I was trying to read short stories from anthologies to promote authors that way and promote a book. And we even picked some old ones. But I realized that my technology is not so great on my phone and wasn't coming across very well. So I ordered some new podcasting stuff. And I think, reading to fans and interacting that way is going to be really, really important. Sometimes they get so caught up and want to get the next book out. Oh, we should got to work on this. And all I'm ever doing is editing. And I fall away from things like the Splatter Club, getting in there and saying, hey, let's take 2 weeks and let's read a book together and let's talk about stuff. And I think it's that personal touch. One thing that I learned from teaching, and it does relate, I promise, but you can use all the data-driven tactics and everything, but kids learn from people they like. And I think we forget that a lot, you know? Yeah. And people want to buy books from people they like. And if you're out there and you're a genuine person and you're interacting and giving it your all the time, and you're a nice guy, not dividing people with politics, not dividing them over all this crap, like, oh, I like Chris, let me check out some of his stuff. And you might find some new fans. And I think that's going to help you sell some books. So anything you can do to interact with people like this, use technology. It can be our friend. It can tear us apart, but it can also bring us together. So this is fantastic. Hopefully that answered your question, Matt. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, Brad says, fuck Ralph's. Of course. Yes, definitely. I was so sad to see Donnie go at the end of that. Travis, we're going to thank you right now because you are always sharing stuff in the Splatter Club. I think he's one of those people who gives way more than he takes. So many people like to just jump in there and promote their book all the time. It's like, hey, if we want this to be a community where we grow, share somebody else's stuff. That's probably the best thing you can do. Let's see. I know we're winding down to about the 10-minute mark. So does anybody have any other questions while we have Chris here for either Chris or I? You got his ear. Okay. Oh, we do. Look, we have someone.
I do have a question. I think it's so great that you do such like outreach stuff. A lot of the hope through dark fiction kinds of things. And we had talked to some other publishers earlier in the afternoon about different creative outside the box thinking. And I mean. And I get that, just in knowing Chris, hi Chris, just in knowing Chris and, and in hearing all these great ideas that publishers are coming up with, thinking outside the box. How did you come around to doing that kind of stuff? To think, like, I guess I'm just fascinated by the thought process of thinking outside the box and where that kind of inspiration comes from.
So I think a lot of people have this notion of when they hear extreme horror, maybe they have an idea of me or about the company or my business partner, Joe. And, it's hard to explain, but you get this idea of these like crazy people bringing out blood and guts and there's torture and rape and all these things. And you start thinking, and as you get a little older, you go, oh my gosh, you know, there's such a juxtaposition between this life that I have. I used to teach elementary kids. So I used to teach PE. We were doing the parachute and stuff like that. And I have this version of my life. But then I also have I do kind of love these books and I love all this dark stuff. And I was like, okay, I can't really put this out into the world all the time. I feel like that I'm doing too much darkness maybe. And so I was like, what can we do to use our platform to bring good? And one of the great things about horror is that every time you go through something horrific, you usually grow and become better at the end. Not everybody. Unfortunately, some people we become too traumatized, we get too hurt, and we fall into ourselves and we become too dark. And we forget how great the world really is. And so I'm hoping through the company that we can really kind of show that the darkness is what brings the light to you. And so if we can use this platform of dark fiction and bringing a community together, but use all the profits to save lives through blood, to get kids new books, you know, to help the children's hospital, that would make me really happy. So I don't want to get choked up. I saw Rose got a little choked up the other day, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I need that in my life. I always have to do something good. And it's been so great to know Chris for these last, gosh, almost a decade now.
Yeah.
And I love these guys. And so part of me, I tell myself that, man, I'm making their dreams come true. No matter how much time and work I get into it, I always want to sell more books. I always feel down if we don't sell enough. But like I'm helping make their dreams come true through this hard work they get to an audience. But then I'm like, okay, I also got to do something bigger. And I think everybody should always focus on something bigger than themselves. And so that's what we hope to do with the company. So that's kind of how it came about. As you get older, you want to give back even more. And so it's kind of now become, rather than just crazy books, it's let's see what we can do to change the world. And that's kind of where we're going with it now. So thank you for asking about that, Mary. I appreciate it. I don't think enough people know about our charity work, and that's really our entire mission. And it's really great working with Chris for all these years. So thank you, Chris. I do appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to be a part of it.
It's good. We have many more years to do this, and I can't wait till COVID is over. So let's see. Oh, a couple more questions coming in. Oh, you can feel that one, Chris. Can I see the Riverman?
Kazanowski, I say. Yeah, you can go see him if you dare. Muhahaha. Like I said, it's out in ebook right now through Cemetery Dance. Grindhouse Press is putting out the paperback in October. So yeah, you can go see him.
Any new Thunderstorm book versions of novels coming out?
Yeah, I mean the Riverman one just came out. It sold out in about 14 hours, so that was really something. That was really cool. There is another one coming out. It's a book that's already out now, but I don't know if I can reveal it or not yet. So keep your eyes open. It's coming soon.
Sounds good. Thank you again, Travis. Let's see. Did I miss any? All right. Well, let's see. Thank you, Travis. I appreciate that. All right. Well, unless anyone has any questions, we are coming to the end of our time here. Triana, I want to thank you, man. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, it's good to see you, Mark. Good to talk to you as always. Yeah.
And I can't wait to finish the Arnold Stallone one because I've been on the road. I just got back about 2 hours ago and popped on here, but I'm like, me and him.
Oh, I know. You love Arnold. Yeah. Yeah. And that whole episode we talk about just one-man army movies in general. Just, Chuck Norris, Van Damme, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I got invited recently from David C. Hayes. He's doing a Chuck Norris. It's called Missing. I think it's something Missing in Action, but it's all about critiques of the film. And he got me for the last one he did, which was the Steven Seagal book. Oh my God. Steven Seagal is not a one-man army. And I was I watched the most horrible movie for that one called
I'm sure if it had him in it, it's a bad movie.
It was really bad. I last saw him, I think, with Hard to Kill and stuff like that. So
yeah, all those 3-word movies: Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Out for Justice.
Yep. So thank you again for coming out. We appreciate that. And Mary, thank you for having us. This is fantastic. Been a lot of fun. And I really appreciate everyone's comments and jumping in. That's huge. So you are helping support us. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you both participating. It was really great to hear everything that you guys are up to. And I'm really excited. So thank you so much for being a part of everything.
Anytime.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.